lot of people are gonna be angry, but it's all good.
Yeah, hate mail.
We'll be right back after this. Welcome to episode number 7, 5, 6, 7, right? 7? Yes, 7 of PBI powered by Influence. Today I got Stefano. How do you say your last name?
Di Lollo.
Di Lollo.
Di Lollo.
Where's that from?
Italy.
That's Italy? Italian?
Italian.
Pasta?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Absolutely. Can't say no to pasta.
Pasta and cannolis, right? Cannolis.
Equally good. The cannolis follow the pasta. Start with pasta.
It's not before?
Depends on the day, right? Yeah. Depends on the day.
All right, so it's gonna be a great episode today. A lot of creative things. As you see, he has pens and Sharpie markers. Before we continue, he got me a couple of things. I waited to be on video so I can open it. So before we continue.
Yeah, I think you could just,
like,
jam your finger in there.
Okay, can I like jam my finger in there?
Who doesn't like stickers, right?
What? I was born creative, so we got this.
Yeah, and there's some extras, by the way, because I knew that we wouldn't be alone here, so.
Nice. I've got creative DNA. I'm terrible at reading, by the way. It's never too late to be creative. These are super sick.
Yeah, some of these are like creativity stickers, and then some of them are from a collection that I've created called Jungle Tie.
So do you sell stickers?
I actually do. I have them up on my website. I do sell them, but I also just make them for
like fun.
For fun. You know, I wouldn't say my business is selling stickers at all. You know? it's just more promo and fun stuff to like.
Like, do you print this out yourself, or do you have like a company that does it?
I actually have a company. Those of you who are looking for a good sticker company, they're of excellent quality.
Yeah, they're actually very, very good quality.
Sticker Mule. Actually,
Sticker Mule?
Online, yeah, they do excellent quality. There's also some local people though here in Montreal that do really great.
This is super cute.
Miniature little frame of my workhorse, because I think you're a bit of a workhorse, especially lately. You guys have been putting a lot of work into this.
Crazy busy. You have no idea. Okay, that's sick. Here, you're gonna put this there. Oh, it's okay. Let's see what this is. And wrapped up nicely too. Right?
Yeah.
I remember the last time I wrapped something properly.
Not the fanciest wrapping paper, but it's wrapped up.
But it's wrapped up nicely. I don't think you're gonna have a problem making that airplane at the end of the show. Most people struggle, right? What? Look at this. Thanks for having me. Keep that creativity fully charged. Nice. This is gorgeous.
Well, we talked, right? We said, hey, let's do a drawing, and then I was like, I'm gonna make a drawing specifically for you guys because I like what you're doing, and when I get inspired,
you're gonna take this, take it, and I'll take a picture with it afterwards.
You'll notice he's got our mic on there too.
Yes.
He's got our.
I'll take a picture with it and post it, and I'll tag the microphone company. I'll be like, listen,
that's right.
It's time to pay up.
Exactly.
All right, so thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Really, really appreciate it. It's a little snowy, not little, very much snowy outside.
It's snowy,
but it's not that cold, so that's a good thing.
We can't complain.
It's not that cold, but thank you for traveling all the way from the other end of town to here.
It's an honor. It's an honor to be part of this.
So let's get to it for the very, very few people that doesn't know you, because you're very popular in the community. A lot of people said good things about you.
I'd like to think so, but I'm not sure if that's accurate. But
it is. A lot of people said good things about you. So I'm like, listen, only the great get to be here.
that's true.
Only the greatest people get to be here.
I will say this. I'm honored to be sitting here after you've had some of the guests that you've had here, because, it's a very nice
It was a long process. You know what? I again, and I was telling you this, and I tell this every day to everybody, that I did not expect such a big outcome of it so quickly. The fact that we got some of the greatest entrepreneurs in the city right now, underdogs, Ricky D, legend to me, like growing growing up hearing about him, you know, like he was always the guy that, you know, like holy shit, you know, like doing big events and everything. You know,
Absolutely.
Samantha was here.
Samantha.
You know, Marjorie was here.
Marjorie, I'm seeing her tomorrow.
Right, yeah, you're seeing her tomorrow, right? So we had great guests. Action Man, I had one of my good friends who actually helped me start this off on my first episode because I never hosted before. I was always on the other side of the table where you're sitting, right? So it's like, so he helped me start out, but it's been great. Again, it's been great to have you. It's gonna be a great process. There's, you know, we have a lot more great people coming, but tonight is about you.
Yes. Right.
It's all about you. It's all about your process, how your mind works to come up with a plug dressed in a suit. So how does it all start? You know, like this whole creativeness that you have in your head. Did you hit a wall? Like, you know, like how did it start?
You know what? It definitely started early for me.
How early?
You know, I think my mother has napkins of me sketching things like ducks at probably like 2.5.
Okay.
I don't know if they look like ducks really, but I was trying, and you know what? My mother actually has that ability to draw. I don't think she ever loved the process as much as I did, but she exposed me to it, and she used to play games with me where, you know, it really made you kind of think outside of the box. Strangely, they're some of the same techniques that I'm using to teach creativity today. You know, doodles, you draw a doodle and you have to transform it into something. And I think it's always been a part of my life. I know it's always been a part of my life. In fact, if you took creativity away from my life, honestly, I don't think I know who I am. That's what a big role creativity has played. And for a long time, I thought that made me special. I thought it was unique to me. Like I thought this was something I was born with, I was gifted, and you know, your ego gets inflated and you start going through life thinking you're special.
Yeah.
Until I started to realize that it wasn't necessarily unique to me, we're all creative, but
you grew up. That's what happened.
You know what? I say this all the time, and it's strange because you know that I teach, and I think one of the worst things, and this is going to get maybe a whole lot of people, it's controversial, angry. One of the worst things you could do for creativity is actually go to school.
Yeah, it is, and that's true. And you know, you're laughing. What do I tell you?
I'm telling you.
But it is.
We forget why the education system was created, and why it was originally created is not the same reason of what we want for it to be today, right? So it was created to put people into factories and get people to comply and conform.
So hold up. So a teacher is telling you this, because you just proved my theory. You just proved my whole thing.
And you know what?
Because she's been bugging me about this like my whole life. Like she's like, go to school. I'm like, it makes no difference.
And there's no doubt, there's like, I mean, I'm not the only one, there's a lot of people saying this, some great saying that Seth Godin says, a lot of people say this, but it really is the truth, right? You go to grade school, you enter kindergarten, and you're allowed to be creative, right? They say like, yeah, draw what's on your mind, have fun with it, here are some colors, you know, express yourself, have a good time, and then by the time you start to get into grade 1, they're kind of, okay, like, well, we're gonna take these away now. We're going to be reading, we're going to be doing some math, and suddenly there are these other intelligences that are kind of prioritized. Now we want to, like, you know, get you to read, and we want to get you to do math, and honestly, there's a whole lot of creativity in those intelligences, but the rest, it's kind of like, okay.
It's a system. It's a system.
It is a system.
Like you're my new best friend.
But here's the horrible part about the system. Then, you know, people go through siege at the university, and then they go out into the workforce, and we're in an interview, and someone says, you know what I want from you right now? I want you to be unique and creative and think outside the box. And people are like, how do I do that? Like, just tell me what you want.
100%.
Tell me what you want me to do now, 100%. Right? And it's sad because how can you be a teacher and care about your students and then say that, like,
it's not the right way.
You know, in the system, it's normal. Education tends to lag a little bit behind, but things are changing, and it's due. It's due on many levels.
Shit, I love you already, man. We just it's gonna get heated. It's gonna get heated. If you can't take the heat, just click X wherever the X is on your browser. But it's gonna be bad. A lot of people are not gonna like us after this.
I know I'm getting.
But it's okay. It's okay. I hope you don't get fired. Like I said, it's okay. You gotta stand behind what you believe in. School, education, knowledge, learning. To me, all these 4 things are different. You know, a lot of people is like school and under school, you know, you have learning, knowledge, and this and that. I don't believe in it. School has nothing to do with teaching me on how to live a life.
Right.
You know, creative way or the proper way. They just teach you what's on a piece of paper. And I can't believe that I'm talking to like this to a teacher, man. I feel bad right now. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, you know, I have enormous amount of respect for teachers.
Sure.
I totally do. And still till this day, I mean, I was like one of the worst students you can have. And I'm very aware of that. But I always respected my teacher. Mm-hmm. But what I found is that they're stuck in a system too, that where they're obligated to follow a certain guideline.
Right.
And I get it, because at the end of the day, you know, you have your business and everything on the side. So,
yeah.
You know what, tomorrow you can be like, hey, listen, you know what, it was great working with you guys, but I'm going to go a different way, right?
True. I'd be disappointed because I like it so much, but you're right. Yes.
Right, but a lot of teachers, that's their bread and butter.
But you know what? There are so many good teachers that are kind of just really been evolving as teachers. You know, maybe not the traditionalists, but the ones that have really, and I've met so many, I'm in a program with so many fantastic people that really have an open mind and are evolving in their methods of teaching. But the problem is, you're right, the system is still the system and they're in it. So they're victims of that system as well, because they're somewhat, their hands are shackled to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And some people just don't want to push the limit because they think, you know, like, why should I?
If you look at it this way, everything has changed. Everything.
Yeah.
Except for the educational system. If you look at where social media was, you know, 10, 15 years ago, you had
Sure.
MySpace, you had High Five and
Yeah.
Tagged, right? Now you have Facebook, where we're streaming live, and you have Twitter, and you have Snapchat, and you have Instagram,
Sure.
and Musical.ly and all that, you know. And then you have transportation system like Uber, or, you know, like Airbnb, and all these big companies that they're doing business totally at a different level of things. But
Yeah.
then you have the educational system. If you take a picture from 30 years ago and a picture of today of a classroom, still looks the exact same.
And lined up in rows.
Exactly.
Right? Military style.
Worse than military,
Yeah.
I find. At least I find military, obviously, because it's military, but I find that the school shouldn't be like that.
It should have at least evolved to the point where, I mean, there's certain layouts that we need to confine ourselves to. But that being said, if you look at what some innovative companies like IDEO that teach design thinking are doing, and going into corporations and completely redesigning environments.
But that's not a school system.
It's not a school system, but keep in mind that we're basically supposed to be pumping out students that are ready for that world. And in fact, we're actually...
But the school system isn't.
Right.
And then you have companies like this
Sure.
that comes out and that's like,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm going to take you. I don't care if you're from Concordia or McGill or wherever.
Right.
I'm going to take you, and I'm actually going to make sure that you're prepared to go to company X
Sure.
and do what you're supposed to do. Because
Sure.
there's... Example, I'll give you the best example. Whenever I'm hiring assistants or I'm hiring admins or whoever I'm hiring, I had this girl and I think she left crying. And I was like waiting for a letter from the government that I'm going to get sued or something. She comes to me, and I'll never forget this girl. She was super nice, and I was super nice with her at first, till a point that she really pissed me off. She comes to me, and I'm like, you know, I ask her the general questions. I'm like, you know, why do you want to work for us? I generally don't care much about your experience in the past, because obviously I'm going to teach you my way of doing things. Mm-hmm. But again, I expect you to be up to date with how things are working in this generation. You know what I mean? If I tell you go post a picture on Facebook, I want you to know how to post a picture on Facebook.
Right.
You know, and not on your personal Facebook, but
right.
to the other side, because it's general knowledge, and I find that school should be teaching them, especially if you're taking business class.
Yeah.
Especially if you're taking business
Right.
class. So I ask her the general question, and then ask her, I'm like, what's your salary expectation? She's like, $65,000 a year. Like, I literally went silent for a second. I'm like, why? She's like, well, I have my bachelor's in business administration. And I told her, I'm like, I don't give a shit. You have it, that's great. What else? Who are you? You know what I mean?
That's a powerful
Like,
question.
who
right?
are you? Like, for me to, I am willing to pay you $65K a year.
If you can answer that question.
Who are you?
I think that's pretty.
And your answer is, well, I have a bachelor's in business administration.
That's a piece of paper.
Right? Like, you know, if someone asks me, who are you? I can tell you, I can go on for 3 hours.
Sure.
Minimum. That's like the minimum,
Sure.
right? Right, but you can't expect me to pay you
Right.
an X amount of money if you're not even able to define yourself as a person.
That's right.
And I think that's where being creative comes in, because that's where you're like, you got to get creative with your answer, because if your answer doesn't match my expectation, then the next person is gonna, he's gonna get more creative.
Sure.
Like, right? And the next person and the next person. And you want to take the person that's more creative.
Absolutely.
Because if I'm just taking a picture like this, next person comes in and it's like, well, listen, it's great that you're taking like this, but I think maybe turn it like this. He's getting creative, right? I want someone like this. Hell, I'll pay you $70K for that.
Right.
Right? So they weren't able, and I think that's happening too much right now. And because school are not teaching, the school are telling them, here's a piece of paper, and you're able to go to any company and be like, I have that piece of paper, therefore you owe me something.
Absolutely. And it's not the reality, right?
Right.
And it's going to be cold, and it's going to be hard truth that they're going to have to basically face.
But I'm still surprised to how many people still think that it still works like that. And it really I get really pissed off at that.
Well, maybe they're misled also by what they're seeing. Maybe there's some, when you go on to these, into the internet world and you look at what's there, perhaps things are presented in such a way that you start to believe that things are going to be a certain way. Maybe there's a certain fallacy in what they're seeing. And I do think it's the school's responsibility to get them prepared for that. I do think that, being able to be creative and focus on some deep work, and you need to be able to focus on deep work versus doing a whole lot of superficial work in order to be creative, I think is the key to the future employee. When I was hiring designers, the first thing I look for is heart and passion.
100%.
Because I think that's such a difficult thing to find in people. And then the rest, it's like, I can teach you software, I can teach you tricks, I can teach you a whole lot of things.
But I can teach you heart.
Right, but the heart and passion is it's priceless, and it's so hard to find. It really is so hard to find.
Who are you, right? Again, going back to that question,
who are you? Yeah,
Right, going back to that question, we were talking about the school system, we're talking about the process. That's what we're going to get a little bit into about. Too many people do things. Forget school for a second, just things in general, work, family, friends, anything. But they hate the process. They do it because they think they might get the fame, they might make money, they might meet powerful people, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But the whole process, they don't like it. They're just there because it's a comfort zone. Either could be a comfort zone, could be that because their parents, mom and dad is forcing them, could be husband and wife is forcing them, could be, but what do you think of that, talking about being creative, doing that drawing and every other drawing that you've done, there's a process to it. It's not like all of a sudden you're like, hey, you know what, I'm going to draw this here. There's a whole process to the whole thing.
Yeah.
How much do you think affects people's creativeness when they don't like the process of what they're doing?
Well, this is the thing about creativity, because I see the drawing as one thing, and sometimes people make that link, right? They think that artistic ability and creativity are linked, and there is an obvious link, but I actually, when I work on some stuff, I see them as separate things. I have the drawing skill, which is one of my preferred forms of expression.
Which is great.
Which is, and it's very, it's my choice. There probably are other ways I could be creative, but it's one of the ways that I like, and other people will find other outlets for creativity.
Some people are singer, poem writers, book writers, but that's yours. But what I'm trying to figure out, and I think a lot of people, would like to know, especially from you, that's doing a lot of great things, that's also a teacher. How much do you think, how many, you have students sitting in front of you, and I can guarantee you, and you know this, that the amount of students that are sitting there, at least 5 of them are hating this whole process.
Right, and so again, for the students who are watching this now or who are going to watch this later, I always say this to them: if you really absolutely cannot stand the process that you're in, then you should not be here. You should not be putting yourself through this, because I question why you're going through this if you can't stand it. That being said, you also have to ask yourself, am I not enjoying this process because it's hard? And that's the thing about the creative process. The creative process is going to be difficult.
100%.
It requires you basically confronting failure over and over. And in fact, you should be confronting failure. And that's just part of it. And so if you're not liking that part of it, well, then it's a bigger problem that you have, because you just can't deal with the fact that things that are worth doing are hard. And we live in a world of instant gratification. We want everything to come to us quickly and
we're to be satisfied.
And it's not the creative process. The creative process, which to me, like, I always like to describe the creative process, it's like walking into a room with the lights off and walking into that room not knowing where you're headed, but having the courage to do it. It requires incredible vulnerability. You have to put yourself out there and you may be criticized, and that's part of it. So if people are sitting in that classroom and that's the part they can't stand, like, I'm trying to be creative, I'm trying to think of ideas and I can't stand this because it's so difficult, or I'm trying to draw and it didn't come to me like that, well, then you have a problem, because go find something else that you enjoy, but you're gonna probably find out that that's also hard. So the creative process is very, very difficult, but you have to start to train your mind. And the first step is accepting that you're creative. And so many people do not believe that they're creative. They think that creativity is reserved for artists.
No, definitely not.
And you know, right, entrepreneurs, some of the most creative people out there.
100%.
And there's no doubt about that. But it takes work. It takes work to kind of cultivate that creativity.
I guess a lot of these people. I mean, you're 110% right about the whole part that where there's a lot of people that are saying I don't like the process because it's hard. A lot of it, as much as the amount of people that give up because because they're not good at it, just because they don't want to go through that hard process.
Yeah.
But what about the other part? Right, that's very few, right? That's very few that doesn't. But what about the other part where they're actually doing it because they're forced to do so?
Well, so I recently put up some pictures and came out with a blog post about myself, and I actually look like I'm a chameleon.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
And the truth is this, and even though I think I've been creative since very early, I mean, we're all creative, but I've been aware that I'm creative since early in my life. I have been a conforming chameleon for most of my life. And what I mean by that is I have always tried to make other people happy. I have always tried to live by the rules. And, you know, real chameleons, and this is how I kind of came up with this character, real chameleons are these kind of calm, cool, and collected creatures that just kind of walk up a branch. And what most people don't know is that a lot of chameleons are actually usually on the brink of a heart attack. They're actually creatures that are very excitable. And I think when you conform and you don't question environments and you just try to adapt and to fit in, which is why these people are doing it, whether you're trying to fit into a group you don't belong with or you're trying to do it for somebody else, I think that's enormous amounts of stress. Life is too short. You cannot do that to yourself.
Life is way too short.
You know, and so if you're doing a job because you feel that pressure to conform because someone expects this of you or because society says, well, now you go to school, you get a degree, you get a job, you did this. I mean, really?
You're not calling my mom? Like I'll put her on.
But you know what?
Call my mother and then just.
You know what? Our parents are probably not so different. I think it's kind of a little bit of a. Parents want to keep us in this safe little cocoon, and that's the opposite of what being creative is. You've got to leap out of that.
The world isn't safe anymore. you want to play it safe?
Yeah.
You don't get anywhere.
And so you mentioned comfort zones, and I think those are some of the most dangerous things people can be in, especially people who don't realize they're in comfort zones. I was in comfort zones sometimes, working in corporations for like 7 years before I realized you're in a comfort zone. You got to get out. And that's one of the most dangerous things, but it's actually not even really a comfort zone. It's the perception of comfort. Like you said, nothing is really safe.
Like they don't like it, but they just think they're comfortable.
Well, you know what it is? It's like when you are even in a comfort zone and there are things you don't like, you're still comfortable knowing that there are things you don't like. It's kind of like if you were in an aquarium. You know your aquarium like it's a blueprint and you know the bad and the good, and that brings you some kind of comfort. Do you know how many people I speak to and they're kind of like, I cannot stand my job. I cannot stand the people I work with. I need something new. And then 2 years later, they're still there. And
why do you think that?
I think it's because there's still comfort in being unhappy somewhere. And you really need something to shake you up. You need to come to that kind of, like, you know how you decided at some point, I need a change in my life? Well, these people have to come to that point and say like, I think
they're just fucking lazy.
You think so?
I think they're fucking lazy.
I don't know if they're lazy. I don't know. I'm sure some of them are. I mean, I don't want to say that nobody.
No, not everybody. But this is my perspective towards these people that works at a place that they, like you said, hate the hours,
sure,
hate the pay,
the work itself,
hate the people they work with.
Yeah.
I personally think I would not be able to work with people I don't like. I get rid of them.
Well,
That's one.
But you know what? I've done it for a long time before I told myself you're not doing that again. And it took me a long time to get to there, to say like, you know what? I'm only going to work with people that I truly
when
want to work
I say
with.
lazy, I don't. It's not always about being physically lazy, but I
Right.
think being lazy in here.
Up here, of course.
Up here.
Sure.
I find that they're lazy to not take the time. Like, you know what, I'm going to take that step back for a second.
Yeah.
And I'm going to look at this. I'm going to look at this. I don't like him. I don't like her. I don't like him. I don't like my work.
Yeah.
I hate my job. I don't like the hours. I don't like the commute because I'm 3 hours away, 2 hours stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are lazy and scared to take that step back and be like, hey, you know what? I think I need that change, which I think you, like you said, you're stuck in corporate world for a while.
For a while, yeah.
And I had my, my depression, and I was drinking and the whole thing. I was stuck in that for a while.
Sure.
But I think what allowed us to kind of be like, hey, no more of this.
Yeah.
I think we were like, we can't be lazy anymore. We're going to take that step back for a second. And we're going to think to ourselves, is this really what we want? Because I think a lot of people don't do that.
Well, you know what it is? I think I came to the point where I was sick of betraying myself every day and doing things that weren't true to me, weren't authentic, weren't really who I was. And I think at some point, I hope everybody gets to that point, but at some point you're like, enough is enough. And I knew I needed the change, and I did a lot of this for years. Like
I want to get.
I'm gonna do it, and then you know what happens is that you build that frustration on the inside. You start taking it out on people. It makes things worse, and then you start pointing fingers like, well, I can't do it because of this, and I can't do it because of that. And the truth is, like, you can't do it because of
you don't want to do it.
Right. It's internal. Right. The problem isn't external.
The problem isn't the other people. The problem is you.
We come up with excuses. I can't do it because right now I need this salary.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So don't jump ship. Like, start looking. But then people are kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna start looking. Soon you're gonna start looking. And I really think this, and I mean this. Life is too short. Life is too short. You have to really put your heart into what you want to spend your time doing. Period. And some people say, oh, that's a fantasy you're preaching. Not everybody has that liberty. And I say, okay, if that's the stance you want to take, fine.
Yeah.
Good luck with the alternative.
The question is, what do you want?
What do you want?
Right? What do you want?
What do I want? These are the two things that I want. I want to continue to leap out of comfort zone repeatedly. I want to keep igniting my own creativity, but my new mission is I want to help people do the same thing. Whereas before it was all about me. I used to just focus on, achieving things on my own, and I figured that would make me happy. And the more I did that, the more empty I felt. And so then I started to realize, like, I need more. And it wasn't a salary, and it wasn't a fancy car. I needed to do something more. It would be nice. It would be nice on the way there. But you know what?
But it's not all about that.
It really wasn't. And it's strange how it takes you such a long time to get to that point where you realize, like, wow, it isn't that I want.
This is the thing, and talking about social media and talking about being creative and creativity and whatnot. I see too many people from our generation. I think I'm a little younger than you. I think I can
probably.
How old are you?
40.
Okay. I'm a child.
How old are you?
I'm 24.
There you go. This is the thing.
I'm a child. But you look great for 40.
Well, you know what I say? It's the creativity that keeps me young.
You look great. Did you put makeup on top?
I do not put makeup. You know what I'm proud of? Actually, one of the things when it comes to my age that I'm proud of, and my hairdresser, I don't know if she's actually watching this, but she always combs through my hair when she's cutting my hair.
Who's your hairdresser? Because I think I'm going to go see her.
It is Sandy Ugg at Funky Tuck, and you know what? She's a fantastic, by the way.
Sandy what?
Sandy Hug.
Sandy Hug
at Funky Tuck.
Funky Tuck, okay, it rhymes, okay.
And you know what? And she basically always looks for white hair, and she's like, you have no white hair. And she always says, like, so what's the trick? But you know where I have white hair?
It's on the beard?
In the beard.
I have white hair, like, around somewhere, sometimes around.
But you know what? When you have a dark head of hair, it's common, right?
But you look great.
Well, thank you.
You do not look 40.
Well, I don't feel 40. My heart feels 24.
Feels 24? So my heart should be feeling like 12.
You should feel 12.
Can you get me a popsicle? No, but honestly, you do look great.
Thank you.
But so 40 years, right? And you look back.
Yeah.
Do you sometimes tell yourself that I figured out what I wanted? Like, are you at that part of your life right now that you're like, you know, I know exactly what I want?
You know what? Yes, without actually knowing every little detail of the roadmap. I know what I want more than I've ever known. In 2014, I decided to leave my job.
What were you doing?
I was doing some product design. And you know what? It'd been a few years that I was feeling like my creativity was no longer growing. And I realized I was unhappy. Maybe I was making other people unhappy, but I knew I needed a change. And you know, I kind of made this bold move of saying, like, I'm not actually going to pursue working for somebody. I'm going to do my own thing. And the strangest thing is, as scary as that thought sounds, I never felt freer. And I look back and I still feel just as free as the moment I made that decision. In fact, I feel like I grew wings. I drove home that day when I made that decision.
Were you happy?
I was ecstatic. I was just like, I felt like I just grew a pair of wings and that I'd been set free. And I think...
I felt like that when I quit Bell. I told the general manager to go fuck himself.
Wow.
That's what I literally told him.
You know what? I would say that my departure was more amicable than that. But you know, you probably had some built-up frustration.
Oh my God, you have no idea. Like, you have no idea. Like,
so at some point, but you know what? Ideally, people make a move before they get to that. Before they
But the funniest thing, this is what it is. It was in those 5 months that it happened. It wasn't even like, you know, I would say, okay, you know what? I was there for 4 years or 5 years or 3 years.
Sure.
It was in that 5 months. How can you make someone's life miserable in 5 months?
I've definitely worked at a place, this is quite a few years ago, where I was miserable. And my girlfriend at the time told me, she's my wife now, but at
so
the
you're
time,
married too?
I am.
How long?
It is going to be 9 years.
Kids? Any kids?
Not yet. Not yet.
So see, we're not the only ones, so we're good in that sense. We've been married 6 years, no kids yet, so we're good. Because everybody get married like after like a year, they have like 3 kids.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think everybody has their own path, and I actually adore kids.
No, I love kids. I want to. What do you want?
In
son,
fact,
daughter?
you know what? This is strange. You know how people always feel guilty saying that, but I don't know why I feel like I'd have a connection with a little girl.
I want a daughter too. Give me a high five. Right. That's
I don't know why that is, but I feel that kind of a connection. And you know what? A lot of people who have had children, whether they're traditional creatives or not, have told me that when you have children, your creativity actually gets boosted. Versus kind of like, well, now you have to focus on this child, and there's actually all these new opportunities that you see creativity in different ways. So I don't actually think having children changes your creativity. I think it actually invigorates.
I think you see things in a different way. You definitely, I think you definitely,
absolutely.
your mindset changes.
Yeah.
Obviously now you're looking at everything as a father.
Yeah.
And especially if you have a daughter, you want to beat the shit out of any other boys looking at your daughter, right?
Is that why you want to?
That's one of the reasons I want. I want to I want to be able to go up to.
You want to.
Like, yeah, I want to, have the guy come press the doorbell on prom night, have like a steak knife in my hand and wearing a mask. You touch my daughter,
Are you okay with this? With him doing this with a steak knife? No, you got to use something. You got to use something less conventional so that they can't pin it on you after.
What about like chainsaw?
Yeah, that'll be tough to explain.
I think having a daughter would allow me to see life in a different way. I was raised by a single mother, and I think that I had the privilege. I think that's a privilege to be raised by a single mother, because you get to see life in a different way, and especially not just being raised by a single mother, but my mother came here with $100, so no food, ripped clothes, Village de Valeur, like Salvation Army clothes.
Now that's the real definition of hustle.
Right, that's what it is, and I think it's privilege. I take it as privilege today.
Sure.
Because I look back to, not having food in the fridge, going to sleep hungry.
Wow.
And to waking up next day and not use that as an excuse that, hey, you know what, that I didn't have dinner last night and now I'm not having breakfast, but I'm still gonna go grind it out. I'm still gonna go hustle. Like, even after marriage, I was sleeping in my car, like, because we made a wrong investment and I slept in my car.
Wow.
I had no money. I literally, I kid you not, I'll never forget that night. My fridge was empty. I went to Shoppers Drug Mart, which is Pharmaprix here, and I took eggs, which was $1.89, and I took bread, which was $1.99. So it came down to like $4. No taxes on bread or eggs. My debit card didn't pass. No money. And I told myself, I'm like, it's a privilege that right now. And I looked at it in that way. I'm like, this is gonna teach me to be more, to think shit through next time.
Sure.
To look at things in a different way that I'm looking at it right now.
Right.
And I think if those experiences didn't happen, I wouldn't be where I am. So I think me having a daughter would allow me to see a life in a different way that I didn't get to see growing up.
Sure.
I got to see growing up as the son, as obviously not having a father, as to be the father figure to my younger brother, and obviously my mother not having a husband was also to be there in that sense.
Yeah.
So I think having a daughter would allow me to kind of see that life that I wish that I would have seen when I was younger.
Sure.
I think that's one of the main reasons why I have a daughter, and also to beat the shit out of young guys, right?
Yeah.
No, but I think that's what it is.
Sure.
But like you said, having kids changes you.
Well, I'm excited to show kids, whether of course they're mine or not, but of course I'm especially probably with my own, to show them this world of creativity that I've kind of been able to unlock in myself. I'm excited to show them that. Now some people say like, well, what if they're not artistic? What? Right, but I didn't say artistic, I said creativity, and
it's very different.
I don't see how you can live your life without it. I think it's a fundamental human need to access your own creativity, and I want them to see that and see where they go with it, because their paths will be different than mine, and I don't want them to have the same path as my path, but I'm excited for that. And that's one thing I love about children. They have this innocence, and you see it in their eyes, and they really see creativity as a different animal than as an adult. And it's actually quite funny to see how
I think they see it as an opportunity to learn.
They do, but they also don't question things. They're just having fun with it, and they're not intimidated by it. And that makes them more creative, because
we question.
Every time I've been in an environment, specifically corporate environments, where there's a boardroom of execs, it is incredible to see how intimidated the CEO gets when creativity comes up. They will be the first to have to answer a call because they're intimidated by the process. And it's sad because you walk into a room of children and say, we're going to do something creative. They're excited.
Happy. Everybody's excited.
What changes, right? Adulthood.
What changes? We're going to talk a little bit about hustle and grind right now, because that, I think at the end of the day, no matter how creative you are, no matter how smart, how intelligent you are, I don't care who you are. If you don't have that hustle and grind, none of this matters.
You're not going anywhere. So
how did your hustle and grind start? I mean, like you said, 2-3 years old, you're sketching stuff on a napkin that looked like ducks. But like when did you really you got up and you're like, it's really time that I put my seatbelt on and I'm gonna go grind.
You know what? I would say it goes back to that minute I made that decision in 2014 to leave what was a perfectly good, safe job, working for a very respectable company. But you know what? I said I'm unhappy and I need to put myself out there, whether I fail or not, whether I crash and burn and then I'll rise like a phoenix or not. And I think that's when the hustle for me started, because before that I was just working hard, but I don't know if that was hustle, because you have to have something to lose to hustle.
I think that's what most people get confused. They get hard work confused with hustle, because most people have nothing to lose because they're too safe.
Sure.
I think they're too safe. But also, this is my other philosophy is the most dangerous hustler is the person that actually has nothing to lose as well.
True. They're hungry and they'll go for it because they've got nothing to lose. But I think the big enemy for a hustler, like what basically unlocked me was two things: silencing my inner critic and silencing other critics. Stopping for a second and saying, I don't care what people think. And I don't care what I think.
That's poison. I think one of the biggest, this is what it is. The two of the biggest poisons for me, one is regret.
Yeah.
Regret is poisonous.
Right.
And every time I listen to him, I'm gonna give this part credit to Gary Vaynerchuk. If ever you end up watching this video, I give that credit to him because he always talks about how poisonous regret can be.
Sure.
And second thing is to be too safe. I think that's super poisonous, to be safe in that perspective that, hey, you know, because my mom's telling me to go to school, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
That's gonna make me safe. That's gonna guarantee me a place at home tonight.
Right.
Without having to hear my mom screaming at me because I decided to, you know, become a construction worker because that's what I genuinely like. Right? I think that's poison.
Yeah.
It's super poison listening to what other people are telling you.
Yeah.
Especially if it goes against your value.
Whether it's good or bad. You know what's
whether it's good or bad, 100%. If it goes against your value,
yeah,
right?
But even the people who tell you great things about what you're doing are sometimes dangerous because you don't end up pushing yourself, and the hustle actually doesn't go on, right? Because you're like,
that's where your ego kicks in. I find.
Yeah.
Listen, I have a super big ego. Like sometimes some of my the people that work with me, they're like, you have a super big ego. I'm like, I do, and I'm aware of that. But I do not let my ego kick my hustle down because my ego is one thing. I know what I have done. Knock on wood, you know, thank God. You know,
sure.
God, you know, God has a lot of credit for this. But my ego is one thing, is because when I'm talking with pride.
Right.
What I do. But when I'm hustling, if I have to clean this floor right now because, you know, I have a client coming in here tomorrow, I'll fucking do it right now.
Right.
You know, I'm not gonna be, just because I'm wearing a suit I can. That's ego talking at that point. Right. My hustle is my hustle. My ego is my ego.
Sure.
My client will see my ego because I'm trying to close you a deal.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. But I find that super poison.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's funny. I used to have this dream, and in this dream, basically, I was in the driver's seat of a vehicle, and the vehicle was somewhat driving itself, and I was alone in the car, and I was driving down this dark, foggy road. And I couldn't see where I was going, but I also realized I didn't have control of the wheel. And I told myself, I need to have control of this wheel.
Yeah.
And the only way you could do that is by making that decision, and that's how you get no regrets. And there's this book by Todd Henry, and the book is called Die Empty. And that's what I intend to do, die empty. And by that I mean die empty of all my ideas. The last thing I want to do,
paper.
I do not want to be on my deathbed and sit there and think like, I still have these fantastic ideas in my head. What if I had done them?
This is what I tell people, and the question I think that kills us all, and it's not now, and I think eventually one day, and I hope that doesn't happen to me. So far, I'm hoping not.
Yeah.
I think the question is what if? What if, what could have, what should have, what would have?
Right.
I think these are the few questions, if you're asking that self, I wake up every morning and I tell myself that, you know what, I hope to live until I'm like 140. Like, you know.
Technology.
Right? I hope to live at least until I'm 140, but if that's not the case, if I die tomorrow, I do not want to ask myself those questions. You know, what if, what could have, what would have, what if I didn't do it? And that's why, that's why I'm like, listen, I want to do this, I do it. I don't care how perfect it is.
Sure.
I don't care what I have. I don't care what I don't have. I'm just going to do it and I'll figure out.
I think it's Brendan Burchard that says you need to come up with the questions that you're going to ask yourself at the end of your life to evaluate whether it was a life well lived. And you need to come up with you need to have those questions ready. And you know what? I don't even know if I have all my questions ready yet. But one of the questions that I definitely will ask myself is, are you dying empty? Have you put enough out into the world to make you feel satisfied that, like, yeah, that was a life well lived? And also, now I want to serve people, in the sense that I don't want to just do something for myself, but I want to make an impact. I want to have, there's an intention to help. And if at the end of my life, I feel that whatever I've done was just for myself and didn't really affect other people's lives, I think I'll be disappointed. That doesn't mean everybody has to be striving for that. But for me, that's one of my questions. Have I made an impact in the lives of others? And it means even if it's in the life of one person. So you are probably already doing that. With this, you may be affecting people's lives.
I think this is another problem that a lot of people have. They're waiting to get that 100 followers, and they're like, that's when I'm going to do it. Stop. Seriously, I think a lot of so many of you need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Because you know what? You can't impact 100 people at once. It starts with one person.
Right.
I think that's my philosophy. It starts with one person.
Yeah.
And then that one person transfers that information.
Yeah.
To another person, saying that, hey, this person, Mr. X, told me.
Yeah.
Jimmy told me. pass it on, and then he tells another person is like,
Right.
hey Samantha, or Melanie or whatever,
Sure.
Jimmy told me this.
Sure.
And then Melanie or Samantha tells Christina, hey, it's a chain.
You know
it's a
what?
Circle.
If you affect one person, in my book, like I did this that thing I was telling you about, the conforming chameleon post, and someone asked me, hey, how did that work out? How many likes did you get? And I was like, you know what? It doesn't really matter. But you know what? One person wrote me and said, you know what? I think I'm a conforming chameleon too. And she's an artist, and she's an incredibly talented artist. And she wrote me, I think I'm a conforming chameleon too. And I said, job's done.
That's what it is. You need
If I
one
made
person.
someone reflect, I may have helped that one individual. Who cares that 100 people maybe liked it and didn't even pay attention? Like, wow, look, this guy looks like that's great
That
makeup.
guy looks like a monkey.
Yeah.
Here.
Exactly.
That guy looks like a monkey.
You see people do that, right? They're not really thinking. And you know what? And some people have actually approached me and said, like, yeah, what was that all about? You kind of looked scary in that. And I'm thinking, like, well, you didn't read it.
You didn't read it. It's not about the picture. It's about the See, this is the problem. The content. People don't understand content. We have about another 10 minutes to go. I think we went totally out of subject today.
Hey, that's fine.
But that's the point of this.
Well, you're gonna have to have me back.
100%. Marjorie has been asking me to bring her back. Marjorie, if you're watching right now or later on, I'm gonna bring you back. Don't sweat it. You're gonna be back. You definitely are gonna come back because an hour isn't enough. But now you're teaching.
Yeah.
You might have angry students tomorrow. You might have some super satisfied students, maybe. I don't know.
They've heard it all before.
Right? And then you have your businesses.
Yes.
Run me quick about what your business is and what you do.
So one of the things that I did is a few years ago, I started this project that I called Jungle Tie. And it was actually an art collection that basically, you would love this, basically took a whimsical look at working in corporate America, in the corporate jungle. And it basically analyzed human behavior kind of through animals. It actually looked for animal-like behavior within humans. And so this became this art collection, and a good friend of mine, Sandy Cavallo, had this Radix exhibition, which is an art exhibition, and I basically put this exhibition up, and you know what? I kind of sold out all of my work to startups, to companies. There's a few establishments around the city that basically put it up. And basically, a very, very impressive, they're an incredible company. They're called Papillon MDC Inc. They are basically teaching executive coaching and leadership development. They loved the concept, and so these characters have now been integrated into their e-learning to teach people about how to be better leaders, how to deal with corporate environments, a lot of the kind of stuff that we've been talking about. And it's incredible what we're doing with this. We're bringing these characters to life. And I've since become their associate creative director. I love being part of that team. They're doing some really state-of-the-art leadership stuff. So that's part of what I do. And most recently, it's kind of a little bit linked, I've decided that I'm going to start teaching people how to be creative, regardless
And how are you doing that?
I'm doing it through live speaking, workshops, webinars.
Is it just you, or
sessions.
are you with a team?
Right now, it's just me, but the way I plan on things going, that will grow. And my pitch is, depending on what discipline you're in, I'll still teach you to be creative. And so I'm not targeting necessarily artists or designers because they don't need me. But what I want to do is I want to help people who don't consider themselves creative to go to the next level in whatever it is that they're doing. And so I'm fascinated with the human mind and how we learn about creativity. And I've developed a system that I call the Creative You. Some of those stickers that I gave you are the Creative You. And I'm basically bringing this out to the world. And it's such a wide kind of program. I haven't developed it in its entirety because it's just too complex, but I'm bringing it out in stages. And so that's another facet of what I do.
So you're really hustling right now. That's what
I'm hustling, and I'm loving it. And you know what? It's hard to picture my life before the hustle. it's in fact, I wasted too much time. I stayed in my comfort zone so long, but I'm not going to start regretting it
But
now.
I think it's better late than never.
I'm out. I'm out of the cage. I'm out of the aquarium, and I'm out of the comfort zone. And I would love to think that the next time we're sitting together, I'll have a whole lot more to tell you about, a whole lot more that will have been exposed to the world. Very, very excited. In a couple of weeks, I'm doing a webinar to help people, even with their social media platforms, because that is just something that people don't realize.
You holler at me, I can help you with that. That's what I do.
Sure thing.
That's
you know,
what I
because you
do.
know what the problem with a lot of people out there is? They do a whole lot of content creation, but it's not really
But this is my thing. I think I'm gonna. You know what? It's gonna even go gonna be
Longer,
an extra
eh?
10 minutes longer.
I should have brought that up,
because no, because you're bringing this up, and I want to say it because there's too many fucking people, and I'm trying not to swear.
Yeah.
But I'm trying very, very hard not to swear. I think I generally just swear because
It's emotion. It's good. Let it out.
It's what it is. That's my way of being creative.
You got to make up your own words.
All right. Next episode. There's too many people that are calling themselves social media influencers, especially in the city. I've seen some, and I'm gonna start. I think I'm gonna eventually start calling people out on it because they're getting into this
Yeah.
because they think they're gonna get famous. And I can say it because it's like this, because I can feel it, because when you love what you do, you know, it's like, imagine, like, I see that drawing, right, that you did for me, and imagine I show it and all of a sudden I have someone who's like, I love that,
Yeah.
I'll pay you $10,000 for it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden tomorrow you see me on Facebook and Instagram trying to draw the same thing or something
Right.
similar because I want to make money now.
Right.
That's not what I do. That's not
Right.
me, right? That's not me.
Sure.
So there's too many people out there with, like, 100 likes, and they're like, I got this 100 like, and now all of a sudden I'm a social influencer. But I'm like, who are you? What's your story that you want to share?
Sure.
If you don't have a story to share, no one gives a shit.
Yeah. Well, it's the trend, right? To use that word and to say you're this. And in fact, I'm a little guilty here, but if you go on my website, I have a section that I call influencer. But what I actually have there is testimonials of people that actually say how I influence them.
At least you have a story. You have a story.
But
You
I
have a
wouldn't
whole
walk into an
process.
establishment and say, well, do you know who I am? I'm an influencer. I think you need to earn that title. And even at that,
Like it's not, it's, you don't say, but you, someone calling me an influencer, or it comes, listen, like, I do speaking for kids that are in prison, that are juvie, that are involved in drugs. 'Cause I was addicted to drugs. I was doing heavy drugs. I was dealing. I was selling. I was involved in gangs. I was involved in a lot of things that I shouldn't have been. So I go to schools and I go to outreach programs and everything, and I speak to kids. And sometimes people tell me, they're like, you're a motivational speaker. I'm like, don't say that, because
Right.
that's not who I am.
Yeah.
That's not all I am. And if, like, I come to you, I'm like, oh, so you're an artist. You draw.
right.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Excuse me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't get at me like that.
But you know what? And this is one of the things, I think everybody tries to categorize things and label things and people and occupations.
I'm against that. I'm like, don't get at me like that.
And actually,
like,
for the longest time, I've had a hard time actually even labeling myself. So I get what you're saying. And plus, I think motivation is personal and internal.
personal, it's personal.
You can help someone achieve that. But I get what you're saying.
Like, listen, like, I know so many people love to speak, like people that are speaker, and that's great for them. They love to speak at corporate events.
Yeah.
Would I go speak at corporate America? Maybe not.
Right. Well, you know what? Yeah, it's because that's not who you've chosen to be, right?
I would go speak to corporate America if they talk to me about speaking to them about struggles and hustle and
There you
grind.
go.
But I would never go to corporate America and speak to them about the structure of
Sure.
business and everything. That's not me.
Right.
I know it. I'm running businesses. I know it.
Yeah.
I'm running very, very successful businesses. I know that. But when I go and I speak to these outreach schools, and I tell them I'm going to do it for free because I'm choosing to, because that's me.
Sure, of course.
Going back to at the beginning when it's hard.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So I find that too many people, they're going around and they're just talking shit.
Well, people want to be something that they see, and they don't really actually do the hard part, which is figuring out what you want. You said it before, right? Who are you? They don't go through that. They go, well, I'm going to be this. And it's unbelievable how many people are talking about being entrepreneurs and they don't have a business, right? So they're going around trying to be Gary Vee, but it's like, well,
I love Gary Vee.
I do like him.
I love him.
But you know what? No one can argue with what he's been able to accomplish.
No one can.
But,
I mean, I see so many people like, yeah, well, your dad had a wine business. I'm like, yes, his dad had a wine business of $6 million.
Yeah.
$6 million. He made it into what? 300 million?
Right.
An annual sales, something like that?
And you know what? People don't give people credit. Like, they think that, you know, if you're born with money, that money will stay around. Or if you're born with a business, that business will thrive. No. So we have to give people more credit.
No, he is. Then there's Eric Thomas, who I absolutely love. Eric Thomas, absolutely amazing. He has a very rough background growing up. This guy has a PhD now. Like, you know, when you told me masters, that's what clicked into me. He didn't do it because, he wanted the label that I have a PhD. He did it because he wanted to. You know, it took him 12 years to do it.
Sure.
But I think that's what makes you successful, is when you do something because you genuinely want to do it because you love it, not because it's a plan B, not because it's it's an easy way to get famous, or not because it's an easy way for freaking Nestle to come and be like, you know what, here's a $5,000 check so you can put your bottle in your video.
Sure.
I think there's the passion in this city is missing, and this is why I'm being more and more picky on who I'm bringing. And until now, I've been super satisfied because every person that's been sitting where you're sitting, they're passionate about what they do. Super passionate. They're in love with what they do. And I see that you're in love with what you do. We're almost out of time, so I'm going to continue while you build me a beautiful plane.
Absolutely.
So, but I think the passion is really missing, and I think that people like you and people that came here before, I think you guys are phenomenal at what you guys are doing, bringing back passion, showing people that passion is still exists and you can make a living out of doing things that you like.
Absolutely.
But it really bothers me in that sense that there's people like you. I would like to say us, but I don't want to pull my own horns. But there's people like you that's doing something so great, and then you have someone all of a sudden just coming and all of a sudden claiming credit for something they haven't done, and they think that the world owes them something.
You know what? Yeah, the world doesn't owe you anything, but you do.
No one owes you shit.
You do owe yourself.
You do owe yourself 100%.
You owe yourself, and I think that is the key. You know, if you're going to do something, do it for you. To each his own, but
like, listen, this whole thing that we do is self-funded. We do not take money from anybody. We're not asking people for money or anything. We do it because we wanna, we want people to look at this, look at you today and be like, hey, you know what? What, in 2014 you were 36?
Yeah.
Hell, they could be 36 right now and they're driving or something, and they could be like, you know what? I've been stuck in this company for the past 6, 7 years or 8 years. I think it's time for me to leave. Right?
Exactly.
I want someone to that, and I want you to message us if that's you. I want you to message us and let us know. And if you're not, I think life's biggest purpose is happiness. It's being happy.
It is. And you know what? I mean, you have to make the decision. It's not someone else that's going to make it for you. No, it's not. And you have to figure out, what does that happiness include? What is your version? We were talking earlier, what's making it, right? Well, you have to figure that out. And it's not necessarily what society says making it is. And if you can't do that, good luck. It's going to be a long life, and it's not going to be a good one, right? You have to make these decisions.
It's not.
So, I don't know if you realize
it really puts you to perspective when you think of all these things about what life really is, and what where you are sitting right now today, and where you actually want to be 5 years from now.
Right.
Do you still want to be that miserable person that you are currently with the high? Maybe you're making $200,000 a year. Maybe you are, but do you really want to be that miserable person? Or do you want to be that person that might make 70,000, 80,000, 100,000, but be happy?
It really depends. If I really believe that if you have passion, you believe in stuff, you want to make a difference, you want to make an impact, you have a mission. I almost think that the money
comes after. I find money. You know, it's money comes. Money is just a part of it.
Yeah.
Money is just such a small part of the equation. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
But I think what it should be, it's really the love for what you do. Because you know, at night when you go to bed, like I go to bed every night thinking that maybe tomorrow morning I'm not gonna wake up. That sounds fucked up, right? When you look at it.
If it works for you, like if that's your form of gratitude, I mean, I go to bed every night and I write down. I have one of these kind of self journals. I write down the things that I'm grateful for, and in the morning I write the things that I'm grateful for when I wake up. And you know what? It makes a big difference on how your day plays out. It's hard to complain when you started your day with gratitude. It's hard to complain when you go to bed at night with gratitude. And you know what? I mean, we live in such exciting times. And I'm talking about where we are now. Of course, I recognize there are some places in the world where they're not such exciting times.
Yes.
So the reality is, how can I complain when I know what's happening?
Exactly, that's what it is. But me, like it's fucked up when you think of that. But I think of it in that way that, you know, that I might not wake up tomorrow morning. So, because you know, too many people are like, I have tomorrow. I'll do it then. I'll give myself that gratitude tomorrow. You know.
Right.
I'll feel more passionate about my job tomorrow morning, because I might get that raise, or you know what, my boss might fire that colleague that I hate so much.
Yeah. No. The time, yeah.
What happens if you die tonight?
Yeah, I mean.
You know what I mean? What happens?
Yeah.
What happens, forget that, what happens tomorrow morning if your boss fires you?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're not getting the raise, you're just being fired.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's super, like gratitude, like, you know, you have your way of writing. Me, it's really, I just sit there for a minute and I tell myself, I'm like, you know what? You're happy.
Right.
You know, right now, like right at this moment, you're happy, and I think that's
and
all.
You know, there's nothing in life that will beat that moment right there.
No, it doesn't.
There's no raise, there's no promotion, there's no position, there's no title. There's nothing that will really bring you that
like, can you imagine
happiness.
at that point, I'm in my PJs, like you know what I mean? I'm in my PJs and I'm like, you look good, you're happy.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I don't need to be wearing a Hugo Boss suit to make myself feel that way.
Right.
And
right.
I think we're gonna end this with this, and maybe you might want to add something to this. I think the most important thing is it's to love yourself, because nothing beats that. Once you start loving yourself, you start realizing what your worth is. Once you know what you're worth, I think that's when you really realize how your brain functions, how creative you can get.
Sure.
Because, you know, if I think I'm a piece of shit, no matter, I could be the best artist in the world, I'll never put pen to paper.
Right.
But I think to have that confidence, to know how, you know, that you're worth it, because each of us we are all great at something.
Sure.
There's no one that can come to me and tell me, you know what, I'm not good at anything.
Right.
We're all good at something in our own way. You know, some people are great at drawing. Fuck, I couldn't draw a mango. I used to fail art. You know what I mean? You know, some people are great at speaking, some people are great at singing, some people are great at writing.
Yeah.
You know, some people are great at breaking shit. You know, like,
yeah,
everybody's great at something.
Yeah, and you know what? The sooner you have access to that and figure it out and uncover this, the better off.
But I think it all starts with you looking at yourself and telling yourself, are you happy?
Sure. And there's a lot of people that I know right now are saying no, and there's probably a lot of people that are actually saying yes. And like,
if you are, whatever it is, whatever coat you're wearing, whatever car you're driving, whatever house you're sitting in, whatever food you're having tonight or you had tonight, if you're happy, I promise you'll make it somehow or another to wherever you want to be. I think that's what it is. That's your plane?
This is kind of like my HB pencil here.
Okay.
I kind of turned it into a plane, and I actually always found it interesting how HB, I always write human being under HB. Am I supposed to sign this thing somewhere?
Yes, you have to sign it inside.
Inside?
Yeah, with your name. What are we today? The fourth, right? Yeah, we're the fourth. We're the fourth, right? Yes, we're the fourth.
Yeah, we are.
Are we still live? It did stop. Yeah, I think it stopped. I'm just gonna go back live quickly right after this, but
I think I like the other piece I made you more.
I mean, this is your plane, brother. This is what it is. Do you wanna try? Do you wanna throw it and see if it flies?
Let's see if it flies.
Let's see if it flies.
Let's see that.
Not bad.
With a bit of a nose
Not bad.
with a bit of a nosedive at the end.
Not bad.
Yeah.
To everybody that's watching, we hope you stay happy. We hope you get creative. We hope you unleash the beast that's inside of you.
Absolutely.
And we're definitely gonna have you back.
I'm here.
Very, very soon. Keep hustling. Keep grinding. Until next time. Peace.